Yeah, just, I mean, all those things like, I mean, that's the nuts and bolts thing, like just, and I have a lot more I can do, you know, I mean, I'm constantly thinking about, well, how do I make a more logical fingering, you know, and the longer I do it, I'm sorry, you guys didn't hear his question. He's asking like, how did you come at like being able to play like, you know, like a bass line and keep it constant and move it around with while keeping the chords or the melody line, all that stuff in there. And a lot of that just has to do with constantly trying to find the most logical fingering, the most logical step between point A and point B. And it also comes from, you know, having played lots and lots of bass and lots of guitar. You also have to unlearn a lot of that information because it's more natural for you to go for specific things when you're on the guitar, you know, or on the bass. And you have to think about the interdependence of the whole when you do that. And I mean, a lot of it has to do with also thinking like, you know, rhythmically, if you're doing something like changing position, like what's the easiest way to get, you know, from point A to point B with your fingers, you know. I mean, just let's try to think of an example. If you're playing in a box, right, which is what we all learn how to play in, like that 4-fret box, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a building block. It's just part of learning that, you know. Let's say you're right. Right? You know, but what if I wanted to move that bass line up a little bit, you know, and then how do I do it? Well, naturally you're thinking, well, I'm gonna wanna, you know, obviously the first thing is just like, oh my God, I'm falling, okay, I'm gonna stop here. But what I learned over time is that you just incorporate every movement into a rhythmic part of it, and then it makes it easier. So, right? Saying? And all that is rhythmic. And you have to think of it in terms of you know how you have like the whole note, a half note, quarter note, blah, 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 blah. Well, think of your limbs the same way, right? Like these are like rhythmic micro movements right here. But you also kind of have like a macro movement, right, with your arm. And you should incorporate that into that as well. Because back in the day when I was first doing this, I was like, oh my God, I gotta play as fast as possible, and I gotta move here as fast. I don't know what's going on, and the drummer's way better than me, and I don't know what's going on. You know, and I would just be. But it's just going, and then I get someone, I thought, oh my God, I'm glad to be here right now, but I'm really worried about everything, because it's, and I didn't stop to think like, well, maybe if you took a second and like took a breath, and realize that there's a lot of stuff going on, and instead of like just being, you can go, actually you can just go like, you know what I'm saying? That your hand is just, you use your arm as that like, make sure that that's part of the beat too, you know? It's like when you're playing those like a ride cymbal pattern, and I would try to get the bass drum to lock up with it, and I'm just like, why is it always ahead of the beat? Why can't it get, you know, it's training your limb to do that, or training your hand to do that. And that's really what it's about, you know. But it's very different than the guitar kind of thing, because in a guitar, you know, we live in such a guitar-centric society in a lot of ways, and we've learned to appreciate certain things about the guitar as like a collective unconscious, you know, that I think ultimately it's like we live in like a codependent relationship with our collective unconsciousness, expecting these kind of silly things to be done on guitar that really are terrible if you actually stop and listen to them. You know, like certain things that are really exciting when you're 14, which is fantastic for that. But you know, you always want to go for that kind of thing. And this is just the opposite of that. And it comes down to that, a point I'd like to make about, you know, there's really two kinds of chops, right? You think of chops as like covert chops and overt chops, you know? And overt chops are kind of essentially what we value as a society for some reason more than anything else. And, you know, there it is. You know, you have it. Who wants to, some people, Al Hirt, want to hear Al Hirt play Flight of the Bumblebee, or these guys play super fast shredding guitar, you know, and I mean, it's a thing, you know what I mean? But really, to me, the thing that really gets the right brain going and really can communicate to you on a deeper level is the covert chops, you know, having really good time, understanding how, you know, being soulful and playing the melody and really listening to the drummer's time and his groove or her groove, how that works, you know what I mean? And you know, Derek was like a big wig in the ultra overt chops thing. You did drum corps and marching band. And exactly how much of that is useful in a musical situation?
About 2%.
But you know, covert chops, right?
Right, exactly.
So.